Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining this latest in our webinar session. Today, it's Modern Security Vision with Windows 10. Name's Arran Lamb, and I'm Delivery Consultant for PowerON platforms. So, start off with a little bit about me. As I said, Arran Lamb, Technical Consultant here at PowerON platforms. Main experiences around System Center Configuration Manager, Windows deployment, and the EUC workspace. About 20 years experience working with Windows and system management, system deployment, and contact details there at the top should you wish to get in touch. So a little bit about PowerON platforms. So we're a Microsoft partner made up of industry veterans, including a few MVPs. Amongst the MVPs, we've got authors of System Center books. We are specialists in System Center, in automation, data protection, and Azure. We've got a healthy focus on automation. If a job's worth doing, and you have to do it more than once, then obviously it's better to automate it. And we're business-led, not technology-led. That means that we are always looking at the new technology, but only really interested in that which is useful, that it's going to have some benefit for us or for our customers. Okay, today, for the next sort of 30-40 minutes or so, looking to cover a few items, broken it down into these rather uninformative sections, but can be looking at aspects of the security vision for Windows 10 and what it currently can do to do for us, how it can help, any extra bits that we can link into to improve that, that which is coming up later on this month or early next month with the next feature pack. And finally, we're going to try and find time for some questions at the end. The webinar is being recorded, I believe, so if you do have any questions, if you just stick them in the window, we'll try and address those near the end. Okay, we've seen the news. In the first half of this year, we've had very public attacks, particularly around March and May, I think it was. Attacks that registered globally and taken out or caused problems on a significant number of machines, splashed all over the media, and that has raised the focus of security in many people's eyes, just highlighting the need for keeping everything up to date. Off the back of that, we've had some great blogs generated detailing what's gone on and some good ideas for fixing it. Now we've got I've got the standard screen here with the slide that I've used before. These attack vector screens, they lead you through the anatomy of an attack, the attack vectors, and to draw you into concentrating on the security side. I just want to drill in a little bit more onto the attacks that we've had. So we've had the Petya clone, we've had WannaCry this year. In both cases, once they've managed to get a foothold in your environment, the infected device then starts to clone itself onto or get access to other devices within your environment. The figures here, we've got snippets from the latest Verizon data breach investigations report. It highlights the fact that users are still prone to clicking on the links. They're still prone to to clicking on documents or links within emails that they perhaps shouldn't. But the vulnerabilities that were exploited first half of this year, they've made everyone more receptive to the ideals of security, more receptive to focusing on patching. And it's a great time to bring up the security findings reports and go for the upgrade to Windows 10. Just having a look now at this quick graphic. We'll come back to it in more detail later on. So software download gets onto a machine. From that, the attackers of the worm is trying to get access to your network, get access to credentials, and just generally cause problems, and at the end of the day try and make some money for themselves. Within Windows 10 we've got various platform defenses able to mitigate or prevent some of these attacks, and I'm going to talk through some of those later on because they're all useful features within the Windows 10 security Windows, so that they're all built in, that they're available to us now. So off the back of that, we've got some very useful tools that we can use to prevent the attacks and basically close down the opportunity windows for anyone trying to get on access to our systems. So next couple of slides, I'm looking at the existing vulnerabilities. So thinking about that, let's start off with the browser. Historically, users are drawn to potentially dodgy sites. Through that, there's exploits and vulnerabilities that attempt to download malware onto vulnerable computers. Not so often now, but it's still a avenue of attack that we need to keep an eye on. So emails. This is an easy way for attackers to try and get access to the systems. There's a lot more social engineering going on now, so the emails are more targeted, are looking more like emails that could potentially be valid. They're trying to pull in customer logos and information. So that being said, the emails that carry these Trojans or the payloads, they're unfortunately still proving to be an effective malware delivery method. Again, going back to data breach investigation report, but last year's, one thing that was found, and I'm sure you've probably heard these figures again, 700 users a dodgy looking email, 30 will open it and 12 will open the payload. So we still need to help users not to leave themselves wide open, and those users that are clicking on the link deliberately or accidentally, we need to try and offset what's going on with that, and hopefully lead them to not end up on a dodgy site, not end up with the malware installed. And again, looking back at the start of this year, so for ransomware, we're now seeing more network attacks, more malware that is spreading through the internal network, through say map drives or through IP. There's also seeing attacks based around the brute force RDP attacks. WannaCry used SMB vulnerability to try and spread to machines that hadn't had that blocked across firewalls that hadn't had that traffic blocked externally. So that hit quite a few machines, many machines that were out of date, which that sort of campaign, ideally they would want to get through under the wire and not be noticed too quickly, so they can spread the malware out to other devices. But these ransomware threats, they keep coming up with inventive ways to bypass static and dynamic antivirus detections. So what do we need? What's the best way that we can attack this? What we have now, security that's already built into the OS, we're looking at having a multi-layered defense strategy. This strategy is needed to fight the scale and sophistication of the malware, to block any and every attacks, and to reduce the available options for any new attacks. So security is already being built into Windows 10. It's been built in effectively from the ground up. So we've all got a level of protection because we're all on Windows 10, aren't we? Well, not yet, but hopefully it's we've got more of a reason now to be moving over to it. It's Windows 10 has got many of the security features built in. We're looking at having a seamless security so that there's fewer cracks for the attackers to get in. Okay, so here's a common view of what's available in Windows 10. It's not all devices will have this. We're looking at modern devices, so sort of 2012, 2013 onwards, so that have got the TPM, they've got UEFI, but we're also looking to have all these available. We are looking at either a new install or a upgrade from Windows 8.1 64-bit. So for example, if you've done an upgrade from Windows 7, then you've got access to the features in grey, whereas if you've upgraded from 8.1, you also get the blue, you also get the purple. So all of these, some of these rely on virtualization, some of these rely on hardware. Many of them actually link in with the hardware, using your device, using a Windows 10 device as part of the security solution. So security features built in. Want to just run through UEFI, DeviceGuard, AppBlocker, Credential Guard. These are tools in your tool belt or weapons in your arsenal that will help defend your systems against any malware and any potential attacker. UEFI first. Placement for legacy BIOS. That, along with Secure Boot, helps protect the pre-boot environment. It helps prevent any pre-boot attacks. One thing to note: UEFI should always, your BIOS should always have a password. If there's a password, that makes it more difficult for anybody to get into, particularly anybody malicious. DeviceGuard. Kernel mode integrity. We're validating the integrity of the driver or the DLLs, making sure that when it's loaded into memory, it's signed, it is what it says it is. DeviceGuard was introduced in Windows 10, uses combination of virtualization based and application execution control. We're using this to prevent dodgy DLLs being dropped into the system as drivers, as system files, DeviceGuard is only allowing applications to run, or drivers to run, that are authorized by the company. So if you like, we're whitelisting everything, making sure that everything is signed by firms we trust. So, whether it's the software vendors, whether it's the Microsoft themselves, whether it's the hardware vendors, the code integrity policies are making sure that only the applications, only this software that we want to run is running on the devices. This reduces the attack surface. Malware can't embed itself in a clean process to hide what it's trying to do. We're increasing the protection around the root OS and the kernel. Okay, Credential Guard. So Credential Guard's helping to mitigate threats by using Hyper-V to secure the execution environment, to protect NTLM tokens, to decouple the NTLM hash, as it says here. This is preventing pass the hash attacks and also enterprise credential theft by protecting the content of the LSAS memory. So malicious software isn't able to pull the NTLM hash out of memory, so unable to then leverage that to get access to other systems. Couple of bits: once you've got an item within Credential Guard, it can't be removed because you're not able to go in and remove individual items from it. Credentials that are saved through RDP can't be used because Credential Guard is preventing access, and you can't restore credentials using the Credential Guard Manager control panel if the Credential Guards were backed up from a PC that already had Credential Guard turned on. Okay, so next we have Bitlocker. So Bitlocker is now one of the easiest solutions to provision in the tool belt. It's been around for a long time. It's been improved for Windows 10. Can be provisioned automatically out of the box. We can do full device encryption. We can do disk-based used encryption, and for third parties, many third parties are actually, instead of producing their own disk encryption, they're actually managing Bitlocker on Windows 10 devices. So a little bit more of the same. Improvements over Windows 7, Windows 8. Look, this is all stuff I'm sure you already know. So now let's talk about Defender AV. So Windows Defender is the name of the security toolset. So later on we'll be talking about other Windows Defender products. Windows Defender is built into the OS. It built into Windows 10. It automatically blocks files at first sight. It uses machine-based learning and cloud information, behavioral analysis, and heuristic-based detections. As far as the cloud goes, it uses intelligence from the Cloud Protection Service to verify the nature of suspicious files it doesn't know. New and unknown threats can be instantly blocked. There's various tools that it uses, fuzzy matching, deep neural networks, and machine learning. In Creators Update, Defender can actually suspend a suspicious file from running and until it's managed to synchronize with the Cloud Protection Service to further inspect the file, to check it's a valid file. We can send the file up to the Cloud Engine and actually run that file through destination chamber, see whether there's anything that instantly starts causing problems. Later on we'll also come across that for the Office 365, the emails, able to do that the same with URLs as well. So quick little picture just running through the how it works. So sending the file up to sending the details up to the cloud. If it's something that it's already seen, then it will be able to come back immediately and say, yes, we've had no problems with this, or no, this is a dodgy file, don't open it. And through that, you're actually feeding back to the user information that allows them to make an informed choice to whether to proceed or not. That empowering the user to make an informed choice is a strong path to go down, because here we're actually alerting the user that there may be a problem, and if there is a problem, it just focuses their mind a bit on whether this link is actually one that I want to click on. Okay, Windows Hello for Business. I'm going to skip over this because, again, something that's been around for a while. This and multi-factor authentication and conditional access have been covered in other webinars, so I don't want to bore you by going through this again here. Apart from to say, obviously Windows Hello for Business, we're looking at protecting the password by putting in another level of authentication that is protecting your credentials. And again, it's using the hardware to aid in that protection. Okay, so the technologies that I've just rattled through, how can they help? How can these technologies and security features help protect our environment? So for Windows 10, we've got Windows Defender Threat Protection, we've got Information Protection, Bitlocker, DeviceGuard, AppLocker, all of these lovely tools that protect different aspects of the environment and help us protect against these attacks. So DeviceGuard AppLocker is would stop a malicious file being installed. Secure Boot will protect the boot sector. Credential Guard is protecting from credential theft. At the top of the screen here, I can never remember what those acronyms mean, but they're protecting various different aspects of the local network. They're all parts of this security of the DeviceGuard security. And on the right hand side, we've got DeviceGuard AppLocker. So we're preventing applications running on machines that we don't want running on those machines. So this example, I think, is Petya or the Petya clone. So it is fairly current. UEFI, I've said that it's protecting the boot environment. So here we're protecting the bootkits. We're preventing malware from loading during the loading process, which obviously is a tricky area to detect something happening because it's before Windows starts, and by the time Windows has started, it potentially could be obscuring itself. So we're leveraging UEFI using Secure Boot, which is enabled actually within the UEFI firmware, and to only boot files from a trusted source, and that's hard-coded in UEFI, so it can only be modified by the hardware manufacturer, only pre-configured. So Secure Boot is ultimately stopping preventing any compromised or unauthorized boot files from being loaded, and then the OS won't boot, preventing a wider breach. Okay, DeviceGuard. I've already mentioned kernel mode integrity. We've got a lovely little graphic there. We're increasing protection of the operating system, the kernel. We're locking a device down so that it'll only run trusted applications that are defined in our policies, our code integrity policies. If the application isn't trusted, then it can't run. This links in with the fact that Windows 10 64-bit only allows signed drivers. Without that, potentially got a vulnerability. DeviceGuard is preventing that. So long as the hardware meets the basic requirements, then even if the attacker manages to get hold of the Windows kernel, they're less likely to be able to run anything malicious. And then with the appropriate hardware, DeviceGuard can use the virtualization-based security within Windows 10. That's Windows 10 Enterprise, to isolate the code integrity service from the kernel by running it in its own Hyper-V silo, Hyper-V protected container. So Windows Defender Application Guard. This is a new layer of defense protection. Defender Application Guard for Windows 10 Enterprise. We're providing protection against the targeted threats, again using Hyper-V virtualization technology. Many of these are technologies use the virtualization part to isolate the to isolate the processes, to protect the processes, and protect the kernel. So this screenshots here, we've got Edge. Edge has got application guard mode, so we're able to start an application guard window, and if something does manage to install itself in the browser, then that's discarded at the end of the browsing session. So Credential Guard. Credential Guard uses virtualization-based security again to isolate and protect the hashed credentials. If user's domain credential is protected, if Credential Guard is enabled, but also building on Credential Guard, we've got Remote Credential Guard. So this came out with Windows 10 last year. What we're looking at here is protecting remote access to a machine, say help desk remoting onto a machine to help out a user. We're using network logon, just like restricted admin mode, credential derivatives to the target, which are bound to a channel. The target must send these derivatives back to the client so that if it needs to, it can acquire a service ticket to be able to actually work on the machine. Because we're using the virtualization to protect the credentials, the target itself can't reuse the derivatives on its own, so these service tickets provide access to the resource they were issued for and not any other hardware, any other machine that the attacker might want to try and get access to. Couple of limits on this. Both client device and target device must be Windows 10 1607 or later, and devices must be able to authenticate using Kerberos, thus protecting the elevated credentials, the service desk credentials, help desk credentials, from being cloned and used to access other devices. Okay, so a little bit more about Defender. Links in with the cloud. You can check that cloud-based is running is Defender on your machine, just going into the settings and virus and threat protection settings. The files will be submitted up to Microsoft only if you check the box that says automatic sample submission. But we can lock suspicious file for 10 seconds, I think it is by default. That can be extended in group policy up to, I think, 60 seconds. And during that time, the Windows Defender antivirus will query the antivirus cloud protection service, Windows Defender antivirus cloud protection service, I think the full name is, and check that file is either one that we know about or potentially send it up for remote detonation if applicable. As the threat landscape continues to move to more sophisticated attacks campaigns that can potentially achieve infection or achieve the goal within hours instead of days, we need something that's more agile, more adaptable to the environment. So Defender AV, either as part of the solution or as your antivirus solution, is giving you that extra layer of protection. In Creators Update and later, Microsoft are hoping to actually prevent the infection on the first machine, was it patient 0, and so prevent the spread. And I think we've got a little picture about it. Yep. So just a little graphic around how we defend antivirus talks around the file, passing it back on to the cloud protection service. Excuse me, to get information around whether it's healthy or not, whether it's safe to run. Okay, so talking around detail within Windows 10, how can we build on those components to give us some extra confidence, extra reporting, extra security, building on the existing security tools so we can better protect our devices and the users, of course. Okay, slight extension of the slide I had earlier. So we've got Azure Active Directory, we've got Advanced threat analytics, information protection, and threat protection. All of these can link in to what we are currently running on the device. The information we're getting on the device can be linked in with those to give us the extra protection. So single sign-on to the both cloud and on-premises through to the same credentials, being able to identify anything suspicious, being able to then respond to those problems, those attacks, and be able to close them down quickly and with confidence of what's being affected and what's gone on your network. So, a couple of things: Office 365, Edge. Both of these are adding extra security that is not necessarily on the device. Office 365, we're looking at sandbox destination of the files and links. So if you've got a user that's received, you've got a bunch of users that received an email, the first one that opens it, clicks on it, it then goes off, is detonated in the cloud to see if there's any potential malware or anything unwanted happens. If it comes back and isn't malicious, then users able to go into it, and subsequent users are then, when they go into it, they don't have to wait for it to go up and be detonated because we've already done it. But if there is something malicious happening, then we're able to highlight that URL or highlight that file as suspicious and stop anybody else clicking on it. So we're protecting the first user. From that, we're also protecting anybody else. A demonstration I saw a few months back, we're talking about the 20 seconds or so to prevent that file or URL being opened on a second machine. So the response is as quick as that. So Edge I've already mentioned. I think the only thing that I missed out on is that through group policy we can actually have persistent bookmarks in application guard version, but we are still using the Hyper-V silo. So we are still using containers to isolate the edge that's running on untrusted sites from the rest of the platform and, say, internal browsing, the trusted site browsing. So it's giving us the confidence to be able to allow the users to, or allow people to access links with confidence, but we're also protecting the environment. We're giving ourselves confidence that that the kernel is protected and making it a lot more difficult for attackers. Okay, so moving on from that, we've got the extra security around the device. We're protecting the device, but obviously the attackers aren't going to sit still. Then they're always going to be trying to find a different way in. So here, this is where we can leverage the extra bits and pieces around the Azure Advanced Threat Protection, Windows Defender Advanced Threat Protection, threat analytics. We can have a look at the reporting. Got here a picture of from my machine and from the Security Center console. So Defender Anti-Threat Protection, it's an additional service that builds on Defender Antivirus. It helps enterprises detect and investigate and respond to the persistent threats on their network. If you're using Windows Defender Threat Protection, if you're enrolled in Threat Protection and you're not using Defender AV as your real-time protection on your endpoints, Windows Defender will will still be there, but it'll be there in a passive mode. What this means is the difference between the kill and quarantine and the block. So kill and quarantine, we're looking here at your end device running Defender antivirus. We're squashing the file that's causing the problem on all of our machines. Whereas block file, if in this case we're using a third-party antivirus, but we can still tell Defender AV to start up, block that file and close back down again. And that then is still protecting from a threat that's been encountered without interfering with your existing antivirus if you're using a third party, or using Defender AV to just make sure that your environment is protected. On server 2012, on a slight tangent, Defender antivirus actually runs alongside any other antivirus, so you end up with 2 layers of protection on your servers. So Windows Defender Security Center gives you a lovely dashboard, allowing you to go in and drill into the individual machines, into the processes that are running, and highlights what's going on in your environment. You're able to drill into a particular file, a particular process going on, and actually work through and find out what is going on your environment to a high level of detail. So you're able to really concentrate on what's going on your environment. Oh, and also you're able to have a look at IPs. So if an IP address keeps popping up, you can drill in and find out whether it's find out some information about it. The advantage of this is you're leveraging information that's been pulled back from a whole load of Microsoft endpoints. So thousands of machines are getting messages from the same IP address. Then particularly if it's hundreds of thousands, then it could be that there's something malicious happening. So in here you're able to actually drill in and find out some more information about it. Okay, so at the end of this month or early next month, we've got a new version of Windows coming out. Not new version of Windows because it's still Windows 10, but we've got a feature update. So we've got some extra security coming into it, and so we've got a few extras that will add to the security vision, add to the strengths of Windows 10. Microsoft started announcing features for the Autumn Creators Update. These new features and capabilities all cover things like Exploit Guard, Application Guard, DeviceGuard, and we've got substantial updates to DeviceGuard and Defender antivirus as well. So, Emmet. Emmet has been around for quite a while. What is it? It's Enhanced Mitigation Experience Toolkit. So here, this is an anti-exploit toolkit, been around for a while, free tool. It's currently due to be withdrawn next year, middle of next year, but the reason for that is it's been pulled into Windows Defender. So actually within Windows 10 from this autumn update, we'll have Exploit Guard. Exploit Guard has many of the same features. This screenshot here I've actually pulled out of a test system. So we've, from the Defender Security Center, we've got the machine timeline, and Exploit Guard has noticed that WinWord is doing something that it shouldn't, and is then, so in this case, generating dynamic code, so it's been blocked, thus protecting your Windows 10 environment. So Windows Defender ATP started off providing advanced detection, investigation, response capabilities. But we've got some new additions coming on in the autumn update. Exploit Guard technology gives us the new indicators of attack that cover recent techniques that attackers use. So things like dynamic script-based attacks, network exploits, keylogging alerts, all of these can feed into Defender ATP, really strengthening the investigation experience across the Windows 10 security technologies. So Application Guard, already talked about it for Edge. So Application Guard, we're looking here at additional information being pulled into the security center. So for example, if a user's tricked into installing malware on the browser, the infection's contained and discarded without actually ever touching the main system. SecOps that still get visibility in the event of future investigation, if something was going on. This will enable them to get to the root cause faster and get a better understanding of the full breadth of the attack. So hopefully SecOps will be able to do more and to react faster. So down the bottom right, we can see that the console has actually logged a problem, but it was contained within AppGuard. DeviceGuard's going to have more user options, so users will be able to update and run machine scan using Defender antivirus, conduct application restriction on their machine, block execution of unknown files, all using the lovely DeviceGuard technology. And analytics, the analytics view is being improved, not technically part of Windows 10, but part of the Windows Defender suite. Enterprise customers will have better visibility into their company's security posture. With the new security view, we'll be able to monitor the overall endpoint health, identify weak spots on the network, and hopefully take the necessary resolution actions. It will also help identifying vulnerable areas in endpoints, and also giving you the security score and some suggestions of how to improve that. So quick summary: Windows security is built into the OS already. Trying to remove the seams, remove the joins, try and reduce the avenues of attack. This security is available now, so it's definitely time to start using it. We've got some extra features coming soon in at the end of this month or start of next month. And we've got some lovely new acronyms, all starting WD. So the Exploit Guard, Application Guard, all part now of the Windows Defender suite. So all there to help protect your device against any of the existing or new security threats that are coming down the line. And also within Windows 10, there's some extra lovely bits and pieces that are coming down, so that if you do need to reset a machine, we're able to, as an enterprise, do that easier, and to some extent do help the user actually do more of the work for us to improve the flow. Okay, well, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to today's webinar. Should follow a short survey. Please fill it in if you can. Any feedback is always welcome. And please also visit the website for other blogs and upcoming events. And thank you very much for your time today.